In a previous video, you saw that we've imported some data from a CSV file. In this video, what we'll try and do is we'll try and create a table from a CSV file or flat file, that as it is called. Right. So now to create a table from a flat file, what we'll do is we will just go to our database, and then from our database again we will have the same option. Right click, we go to task. Now instead of going to import data, this time we will use the flat file. This is a more modern way of importing a data or creating a table based on the data than the import data than the import data wizard. So we'll click on this one for now, import flat file. This will just open our wizard for us right now. So from the first view, you will probably be able to see that this is slightly different to what we saw in our first video before this. So yeah, just a bit of introduction about what this is going to do. We will just use this to create our first table from the flat file system. Click next. Now specify input file. So what we need is we need to tell the wizard where to pick up the file from. So again, from here I'm just going to go and find the file which I've saved in one of the folders which I've created for this course, and this will be is it's that one. So right, so I've got the table which is employees. I'll just click on that file, open. The new table name is automatically selected for us, which is called employees, which is fine. That's what I'm going to accept. But if you do wanted to make a change to the file, sorry, to the table name, you could do that. But yeah, said I'm just going to keep this as employees. Now the next thing in here that you see is you've got the table schema. We will select a schema for this table to be added into. We will talk about schemas and what they are in our chapter, in one of the chapters for this course. I'm going to explain everything about schemas and how do we create them. But for now, if we click on here, you'll see that there is only DBO. This is the database owner schema, which we haven't created any just yet. So yeah, we'll just keep in everything to the DBO employees. Next, what the next will here is this section will do is this will just give us an idea of the columns that will be created from that file. So you've got the ID column, you've got the first name, last name, and you'll see some data that will be inserted once the table is created. So click next. Now once we have the click next, see you'll have this option in here where it says modify columns. What that's doing is it's giving you all the column names, and it is also suggesting a type of data that you will be storing into these uh, into the columns itself. And you'll also have an option for primary key and as well as allow nodes. Right, one thing which I do want to do is with my ID key, this is employee ID, it is suggesting it as a tiny int, which is a smaller value. For the number of employees and number of employees I'll be adding to this is probably not going to be enough as a tiny int, so I'm just going to change that to the standard int. And one other thing that I'll also need to check for the employee ID is I want to mark this as a primary key. And what is primary key? We will talk about primary key in our next chapter. And that is just, there is a section about the how do we create a healthy table, and I'm going to be talking about primary keys and some other stuff that we need to keep in mind before when we create tables. So yeah, that's coming up next. Allow nulls. Do you want to allow null for any of these columns? Well, what we do want to do is we want to allow null for the address line too, but everything else is not null. So we need to have a data in here as well. But for first name, as I said, in character 50, last name is 50. For the address line one, most of the time this is a bit bigger than the first and the last name. I'm just going to change that to 250. I'm going to change that to 250 as well. I'm keeping the rest. The city also has address line 1 and 2 250, but the rest will just be 50 50 and 50 in here. And I've changed the data type for the ID column to int from the tiny int. Right, so next, this is just going to do a summary of what will happen is it will just use the database which is demo, create as a table which will be called employees, and I just click finish on here. You're just going to do a an insert and operation complete, insert data. And if you do want to see the information in more detail, you can just click on success button in here. That should just tell you Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio, the following tasks completed successfully and data inserted. So click OK, close. Now to see your table, you need click on your tables, but obviously because we've not just refreshed it yet, we will only see the first table in here. So just on tables, refresh, and that should just give us the table that we've just created, which is called employees. Now from employees, if we just expand that, you see your columns. So we will have our ID column, which is Microsoft's primary key. We've got first name, last name, and here you've got all the different columns that you needed. So if you just right click and select top 1000 rows, this is just going to run a T-SQL query, and that will just select you the first 1000 rows, but in our case we only have 20. So now you see that the table is created and the data is inserted in automatically for you as well.